Warning. This podcast contains spoilers.
Third World Cinema Club.
Welcome guys to Third World Cinema Club. I'm John Tawasil from Present Confusion.
I'm Jim of Jimmy Licolati Papa.
And I'm DJ Ramones of Reversity.net.
So in this very relatively short episode, we'll be talking to you about the films of the recently concluded Pista ng Pelikulang Pilipino 3. Unfortunately, wala dito si Tristan, pero nandito ako. Napanood ko lahat. DJ has watched two films.
only.
Jim, how many films have you watched? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 films. So, I guess for parang lightning round,
Ako mabilis.
yan, lightning round, let's go through the films na ako lang ang nakapanood.
Go
Yan.
ahead.
Bakit time ako, Jim? So, let's begin. Pagbalik by Ranillo, forgot her name. It's about this OFW who comes home. She's a victim of the deportation policies of the Trump administration. She comes home to a family that doesn't really know her, a mother who she left behind, and a son that doesn't really know her either. So there's enough space for family drama in this film. I mean, conceptually, it's pretty, maraming pwedeng gawin sa kanya. Unfortunately, it's a very amateurish film in terms of its construction, yung aesthetic niya. Ang hilig niya sa fade to black. It's staged really weirdly. It's black and white. Para siyang student film. And ironically, yung film na nauna pa dun sa, kasi each PPP film is accompanied by a short film. Mas polished pa yung short film na yun kaysa dun sa feature film na sinundan niya.
And surprisingly, this was graded A by...
This was graded A. Parang, what were they smoking? Suzette Ranillo though, very nice performance.
Gloria Sevilla.
Gloria Sevilla also, very much, old lady doing stuff. Pero yun, I mean, I couldn't find anything to latch onto. It's parang sobrang conceptually bankrupt siya. Wala akong makuha sa kanyang anything.
Okay.
Pero it could have been, I mean, with the right execution, it could have been at least a passable or acceptable movie. Yun, pagbalik. So, number 2, I'm Elenia L by Boy Tukison. Yes. By the way, spoiler alert for all the films. So, I'm Elenia L is about Elenia L played by Maris Racal. This is probably one of her better performances. She's this, stereotypical millennial girl who wants to be an influencer.
8th grade, charot.
Yeah.
8th grade, charot.
Interested ako in the fact na it doesn't indict influencer culture as much as it acknowledges its existence. And additionally, yung parang kung magaganito ka, magpakatotoo ka na lang. Parang ganun yung message na gusto ipalabas ng pelikula. I mean, for most of the film, ganun siya. And then it comes into this really, really weird third act na ang nangyari kay Elenia L, I guess I'm gonna spoil it for you guys, ay during a tattooing performance dahil sa sakit, nag-diarrhea siya dun sa nagtatattoo sa kanya. As in, iniputan niya yung tao.
Oh.
So, imagine, it goes into this weird place na about, parang nag-touch siya slightly about cyberbullying and pero it bounces back really fast eh. Imagine if the ending of John Denver Trending was after binuli si John Denver, gumawa siya ng rap song about how he stole the iPad. Parang ganun ka-weird yung yung direction na pinuntahan ng film. Pero it's fitting with the it's fitting with the with the mainstream intentions of the film. Ganun yung pupuntahan niya. I mean, it's a very nice performance by the lead two actors. Although yung si Inigo Pascual, yung character niya parang palaging galit. At siya palaging galit.
Okay.
Na tipong hindi naman kailangan. Pero alam mo yun, fans of this love team, I think Marnigo yung title. They will have a lot to appreciate with this film. And to be fair, it was better than I expected. Pero so yun nga, sobrang sabog no third act na This film also features a cameo by Dante Gulapa, internet sensation.
Okay.
Parang emblematic siya of the kind of internet personality na gusto ng pelikulang ito. Yung taong napapasaya lang, nagpapakatotoo, hindi siya papeke, na, becomes successful because of it.
Okay.
And para si Dati Gula pa lang worth the price of admission kahit sobrang walang sense yung cameo niya.
Wait lang, quick question lang siguro dun sa I'm Millennial.
Yeah.
I'm
Millennial.
I'm Millennial.
I'm Millennial.
Slow.
Ayaw.
Pero yung sabog na third act niya, parang do you sense na they're trying to be, ano ba to, yung absurdist?
Alam mo, I'm not sure, pero they leaned into it na eh. Parang they went that direction, pinangatawanan nila na ganun talaga, sabog talaga yung lalabas.
Inisip ko kasi parang, is it one of those, parang, si Boyta kasi is part of Bubblegum, di ba?
Yeah.
Tapos parang, every now and then, they really do weird stuff, ganyan.
Yeah.
Pero,
Parang umabot sa ganun eh. Yan. Yung binubuli siya, tinatawag siya, Taelenya L.
Okay.
Elenya
Ito
L.
yung mga no-holds-barred na version ng bubblegum humor.
Ganun. I mean, sobrang tae talaga. Pero, yan eh. I mean, sige. Kasi nung napanood ko yun, well, it was the gala screening. Yan. Tawa ng tao yung mga tao.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Support.
At the same time, ako natawa din ako even if I'm not a fan. So, yeah, I can see the appeal naman. Yun, sa kanya. Yan, okay. So, next is G by Don Don Santos. Yan. Bilang doktor, maraming gusto sabihin dyan. So, it's about these people. They are soccer players. Their captain is Makoy De Leon. And one day, he gets sick with cancer. Now, as a doctor, I have to say, gallbladder cancer is almost exclusively, well, not really exclusively, is a disease that we really see in older people, 60 to 70 years old. So, isang 18-year-old na may gallbladder cancer, for an 18-year-old to have that is very, 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 very rare. At meron pa siyang kasama sa support group na meron ding gallbladder cancer na parang, dalawa kayo, ganun. Para nakahanap ka ng dalawang.
Statistical anomaly.
Na younger age
Para ka nanalo ng lottery twice, ganun.
Okay.
So anyway, whatever. As part of his final desire in life, nag-bucket list siya to go on a road trip with his friends, have sex for the first time kasi virgin siya, etc. etc. Yung that youthful road trip na may konting sexuality, it reminded me kind of a low budget, mga 50 centavos na ito mamatambien.
Oo, mamatambien nga.
Pero again, weird third act. There's from this road trip into this murder mystery / thriller na
Ang weird na nga.
na sobrang bizarre na akala mo it wraps itself neatly pero biglang may isa na namang twist at the end na sobrang out of left field na tipong what the fuck na tipong okay parang nothing really gets resolved by the end. I mean the only good thing I can say about it is medyo charisma medyo na steal ng show ni Jameson Blake yung kanya kasama si McCoy. It's bizarre. Pero I don't know. Para siyang bad Wattpad story. Turned into a film. Exercise caution when you watch this. Yeah. So next is Watch Me Kill. Tyrone Asherto.
Best director siya dito.
Best director siya. He won Best Director. So it's about Jean Garcia who is Luciana. She's a contract killer. She's a very good contract killer. One day, during a contract gone bad, kung naglalaro kayo ng Red Dead Redemption 2, para siyang Red Dead Redemption 2 that goes horribly wrong. Kasi may pinatay siya, may witness, pinatay niya yung witness, may isa pang witness, actually dalawang witness, pinatay niya yung dalawang witness. So naging bloodbath yung general area na yun. Tapos, may nag-stumble out na isang bata, si Junica Santavina. You probably know her from Children of the River or Musmusag, ayun.
Sa gubat ng
Digma. And they form a weird relationship together. It tries to explore Jean's character as an assassin. Kung ano yung mga nawala sa kanya bilang nanay, bilang bata, na bilang normal na tao na hindi pumapatay. Pero everything she does, yung kanyang killing lifestyle comes back to haunt her. And although yung aesthetically it's really really good. Para siyang it was shot parang on film or baka post yun, ginawa sa post. And may really wide shots na yung landscape, yung probinsya na landscape parang pinapalabas yung desierto ng western. Parang ganun yung peg niya. Ang ganda ng kumbaga visual storytelling niya. Unfortunately, yung story na gusto niyang sabihin, parang nakukulangan ako.
Okay.
Na tipong, naghahanap ako ng something more about Jean's character. Parang hanggang dito na lang ba yung aabutin mo. To the point na, as the film went on, nawala yung dimensionality niya. And it also hinges on a twist na sobrang basang-basa mo from a mile away, yung twist na yan. Na tipong, what more does it say about the character? Parang, I mean, it can invite discussion, pero parang nakukulangan ako. Pero I don't really hate the film per se. Pero yun nga, it still has a lot of, it has a lot of storytelling problems. Pero with the right script, with a refined story, this could have been one of the best films of this year. Pero yun nga, ganun talaga.
Okay.
This
Two.
year, as in PPP this year, as in the year?
As in the year, kasi ang ganda talaga ng ng visually, ang ganda niya visually mag-tell ng story.
Naka-intriga nga yung sabi, di ba, ni Tristan na, watch me kill your time.
Watch me kill your
Your
time.
time.
It's also slow-paced talaga siya.
Watch me kill your time.
I mean, slow burn siya. It's not for everyone. It's quite a slog to go through. Pero yun nga, if yung atmosphere lang niya, I dig it. Pero sayang lang na wala siyang maisabi pang story other than watching.
Okay.
Nasabi ko yun. So let's go to Open. Parang niyo ba yung Open? No?
Hindi, pero naparad ng mga friends ko at natutuwa sila.
Yun. Under Your Nice best film, actually. So, it stars RC Munoz and she's paired up with
JC Santos.
JC Santos. They're a couple na parang yung pelikula ni Alessandro De Rossi, they should have split a long time ago.
Pero may 12, di ba?
Yeah, like 12. Parang JC Santos is really emotionally manipulative. Sa kanya lahat ng red flags of a bad partner. Immature siya, clingy masyado, parang pinapadepend niya si RC sa kanya. At the same time, si RC, masyado siyang nagpapadala doon sa lalaki. Na tipong, napapakamartir siya dahil lang ba matagal yung relasyon niya. Their relationship was 14 years old. They're like high school sweethearts at this point. And yun nga, JC Santos floats the idea of an open relationship, which he got from his friend, who's also in an open relationship, in order to salvage the relationship. Pero sa totoo lang, it's just an excuse for him to cheat on RC with Raimundo's character, his boss, basically. And this is really not about an open relationship. This is about Raimundo, yeah. I mean, who can resist? But still,
Yung si aswang.
but still, I mean, it's about this. It's about trying to let go of things na dapat matagal mo nang let go. So yung end scene niya is parang it's played filmically as parang tragedy or parang hugot moment. Pero sa totoo lang, cathartic siya para sa akin. Masaya ako naghiwalay sila. Yan, spoiler alert.
Nabanggit nga rin sa
Naghiwalay sila at the end. Na tipong, girl, just leave. Yun. Yun din. Maganda yung pagkasulat niya. Isa sa mga writers nitong film na to, si Dwayne Baltasar. So,
okay.
It's very, very realized kung mga yung
Napansin ko lang parang maraming nagre-rave kay RC Munoz when it comes to her acting.
Ang ganda ng performance niya. May isang scene doon na gusto niya magsabi ng maraming masasamang words. Nakikita mo yung galit niya. As in, kulang na lang patahin niya si JC Santos sa harap niya. Kasi ganun siyang kapanung-puno sa kanya. Kasi mararamdaman mo. Parang, I know a lot of people, masyado silang nahi-hysterical or na kay RC Munoz. Pero dito talaga may may pasok siyang iba eh.
Ako na-appreciate ko naman siya in Always Be My Maybe.
Yeah. Oo. Siya rin ba? Siya sa Last Full Show,
Yeah,
diba?
Last Full Show.
Okay siya sa akin. Okay siya sa akin sa Last Full Show. Although I'm aware that not a lot of people.
Na-OA yan nga sa kanya doon.
Na-OA yan sa kanya.
Sa Last Full Show.
Pero yun, I mean, may parang Yeah.
But is this film serious ba? How is it toned?
It's serious relatively.
So, walang masyadong like
It's
comic
it's more rom than com. And yun I mean, makikita mo talaga may power imbalance na tipo yan si JC Santos. Bumibili sila ng cake. Gusto ni RC itong flavor na to kasi alam niya masarap to. Gusto ni JC Santos ibang flavor. So, una, siningit niyang ganun. Sinabi, itong dalawa na lang yung bilhin natin, yung flavor ko at yung flavor mo. Tapos later, iniba niya na tipong, sige itong flavor ko, tapos isa pang flavor na gusto ko. So, tipong hindi na bilhin kay RC. Tapos yung flavors nung ice cream or whatever na binili nila, hindi masarap. Yung kay RC, yung masarap, sinabihan siya ng like in-laws niya. Yung future in-laws niya kasi engaged na sila. Na tipong, hindi pala sila engaged. Parang family ni Jesus Santos na sana binili mo yung flavor na gusto ni RC. Masarap yan. So, yun. So, tipong walang agency si RC, no? Walang agency niya in the relationship. Kaya, yun nga, sobrang toxic niya from the start, na tipong, girl, maghiwalay na kayo. Hindi kagaya ng ibang pelikula dyan, na tipong papakit lang yung lalaki, hiwalay na kayo, yung house nyo, house yung dalawa. Yeah.
Talagang yung clue yun, yung hint.
Ayun. Tapos, I guess yung last, Cuddle Weather. Cuddle Weather, directed by Rod Marmol. Yan, it's about two sex workers. Isang neophyte, played by RK Bagatsing. He comes to meet Sue Ramirez. And Sue Ramirez is a pro. Pro talaga siya. As in, she knows the ins and outs of the trade. Marami siyang high-profile na clients. They form a weird relationship na because yung nature ng sex work is it's very intimate but impersonal. Alam mo yan? Yun yung conundrum niya eh. Na hinahanap niya yung intimacy or yung emotional intimacy, to rephrase it, from RK Bagatsing na yun nga, nagka-cuddle sila. But kinontrata niya. At the same time, tuturuan si RK Bagatsing how to be a better gigolo. So yun, it's a very interesting dynamic. Kudos kay Sue Ramirez kasi binigay niya lahat niya sa role niya. It's one of her best performances. Pero alam mo yun, I understand yung criticism ng iba that it medyo sanitizes.
Romanticizes nga.
I'm not sure about romanticizing, pero parang pinalinis niya yung sex work. It's a very dangerous profession. Pero I understand yung aesthetic nila na parang pinapalinis nila artificially yung sex work na nature. Because ganun talaga siya eh. Parang feeling, there's an artifice in it eh. Na tipong, this is an artificial relationship you are having with another person in exchange for money. This is transactional. Na tipong, walang anything true about the relationship you form with this sex worker. And yung relationship na finorm ni Sue Ramirez with RK is in a more sa kama basically, cuddling together. It's a more warm, welcoming space. Hindi siya kasi sterile or fake dun sa mga lugar na pinagsasexan niya with various other people. And yung various other people, may sarili silang neuroses, yung mga Johns niya. Tsaka yung mga babae din actually eh. Yung babae ni RK Bagatsing.
May nabanggit ka nun regarding sa parang may kudos ka with the film regarding sa parang, I forget if condom or something na...
Yeah, to be fair to the film, it addresses pre-exposure prophylaxis. That is drugs that you can take to prevent you from contracting like AIDS, especially in very high risk profession. Initially for for sex workers yan. Pero it's like other people who have lots of sexual partners can use it. PrEP yun, pre-exposure prophylaxis. Yun, and yun lang. I understand given na medyo may pagka-mainstreamy siyang flavor kahit na ganun siya. Pero yun, yung third act lang niya, yung medyo nagkadramahan na yung dalawa. Kasi there's some kind of conflict that doesn't feel too concrete. At tinatry mong ihukay yung thing nila, yung relationship foibles nila together. Parang why should they be together? Na hindi mo masyadong ma-form kasi medyo weird yung pagkasulat ng third act. Pero anyway, yun. Third act problems. Ito yung ng festival na to, problema ng festival na to para sa akin. Pero yun, I still enjoyed Cuddle Weather a lot. Tsaka props talaga kay Sue Ramirez. Okay, so tapos na ako mag-monologue for 20 minutes. Let's move on to films we have watched. I guess segue muna tayo into one of the non-competition entries, Verdict. Directed by Raymond B. Gutierrez, apprentice of Brillante Mendoza. Para sa akin, the apprentice has surpassed the master. So it's about it starts with a crime committed by what's his name?
Late Christopher King.
Yeah, Christopher King's last performance. Christopher King against Max Eigenmann. It's clear as day, nakikita mo yung crime. It's right in front of you.
Yes.
And then, it goes into the minutiae of the legal proceedings following from that. To as they go about the case. Ako, in terms of comparison, it reminded me of J.L. Tarejo's TPO, pero it's less formally precise. It's more interested in the nitty-gritty of the justice system itself.
Yeah.
Instead of like the emotional the emotional background of this dysfunctional relationship. And doon sa makikita mo kay Max Aigen, maasar ka kasi hindi siya literate sa justice system. Kaya she makes so many mistakes in terms of like getting witnesses.
Actually, yun din yung napansin ko dun sa film. Parang alam mo agad na mahina yung evidence niya.
Mahina yung evidence. Malakas dapat, pero it's stacked against her. And I guess I have to rephrase my earlier statement na hindi naman siya nagkakamali din solely. Parang yung sistema laban sa isang babaeng kagaya niya, hindi patas kumpara doon sa lalaki. Culturally, systemically. As in, maraming times doon sa pelikula na sinasabihan siya, areguluhin mo na lang to. Settle na lang kayo. Pero ayaw ni Max Aigen kasi talaga namang nagka-problema siya.
Talagang with the film kasi pinakita doon yung very obvious violence against women.
Violence against women and children.
And children.
Kompleto siya.
Ang maganda dun sa pelikula, balance kasi siya na pinakita yung sa side ng accused or suspect and then sa victim, diba? Although yun lang, talagang personally kasi may ganun na naranasan kaming ganyan na parang may legal case. So, alam mo kapag dumaan sa PAO, alam mo kapag bayad yung abogado. So, kapag bayad kasi talaga yung abogado, asikasuhin ka niya. Ganyan. And then, gagawin ka niya kahit ikaw pa yung accused. He will do everything para mawin yung case. Which in the film, hindi na kasi nakabayad. Actually, this is on the part of Christopher King.
Yeah.
Kaya, ang nag-take over yung isang tao.
Yeah, so parang additionally from gender, may issues of class din. Na tipong, ang lumabas sa sistema natin, the ones who can get justice are the ones who can afford it.
Yes, that's true.
Yun. I mean, it's sobrang sobrang infuriating.
Oo, totoo.
Nakakataas ng BP siya. Na tipong, alam mo kasi yung nangyari eh. Yun yung maganda doon na tipong, pinakita niya na ito na yung maling ginawa. Bakit ganito pa rin yung nangyayari? I guess yung one parang quibble ko lang sa pelikulang to. Ayan, yung ending kasi niya.
Ayun, actually ako din dun. Parang
during the decision, si Christopher King ay gumawa ng some krimen na nakitumandem siya or something.
Yeah.
Nakita siyang patay. So, parang we're gonna assume this is some sort of extrajudicial
ako
killing.
Yun din yung naiisip ko.
Na tipong inadvertently, kasi yung decision nung judge ay for Christopher King.
Yes, acquitted siya.
Acquitted siya of the crime because sobrang hina nung kaso niya.
Ang hina kasi talaga nung backup or nung evidence, even yung mga nakukuha niyang witness, mahina. Ni
so yung main issue ko with the film actually is in yung pinapalabas mo na yung recourse na lang dun kay Christopher King ay nagkataong namatay siya. Parang is it advocating extrajudicial means of justice, or is it just saying that sometimes some people, because of the system's failure, they resort to extrajudicial means to get justice?
Actually, another thing na pwede pa natin i-consider ay parang binase na siya dun sa parang consequences or fate nung magiging character ni ni Christopher King. Kaya ganun nangyari. Nga lang, 'di ba, hindi malinaw, it's tawag dito, ambiguous. Kasi 'di ba, nakita siya nung nanay, 'di ba si Dolly De Leon yung gumanap, na parang sinisisi si Max Aigen, and then umalis siya, nag-walkout siya, 'di ba? So parang parang pwede mong isipin or ng audience na may kinalaman ba si Max Aigen man. Ganun ang pwedeng isipin eh.
Yeah, I mean, did she have a hand in this?
Oo, nag-revenge ba siya? Ganun eh, pwedeng.
Or parang helpless lang ba talaga siya? Or yun nga eh, you don't know eh.
May effect pa rin ng trauma na sinaktan siya, kaya nag-walkout siya. Ganun.
Pero I'm thinking if this is an endorsement of that, or parang it's just saying na dahil nga ganito, ito yung patutunguhan ng tao. And yun nga, our justice system is really flawed. Sobrang
Totoo.
flawed niya.
Kasi talagang based on experience din in medyo private pero konting papyaw lang. Dumadaan ka sa due process eh. So minsan pag due process talagang tatagal ng taon and then parang gusto mo na lang matapos. Yun talaga yung realistic take talaga ng justice system natin dito sa Philippines. Kaya parang nakarelate ako somewhat sa film.
Relatable.
Oo.
Criticism of relatability. So yun. Punta naman tayo sa isang...
Tsaka nga pala regarding kasi hindi ako masyado more on the courtroom drama. Hindi ako fan. Hindi ako fan ni John Grisham. Ganon. So, when I watch Verdict, na-appreciate ko siya because the setting is in the Philippines. Yung realistic, ganon. Kasi another, siguro book na court drama na na-appreciate ko lang ay yung 19 Minutes ni Jodi Picoult. Aside from that, yun lang. Wala na.
Okay. So, let's move on to a film yan. Napanood natin yung tatlo. Eduardo Roy's Lola Igna. Okay. So, Lola Igna, played by Angie Ferro. Yan. Very veteran actress.
Although, ang tagal niyang inactive eh. Parang hindi natin alam kung ano nangyari sa
lumabas siya sa film si Eddie Garcia.
Before, Atchay, yun yung
Atchay yung pinakana niya.
Yung remarkable niya. And then, I haven't seen Pagputi ng Uwak, Pag Itim ng Tagak, pero she's also there.
Yeah. So, in this film, she's a 118-year-old grandmother.
Na unbelievable, napakalakas.
Oh, lakas!
Di like si Olivia de Havilland.
She wants nothing more but to die. Pero the local government and her parang kapitbahays, they apply her to this parang organization.
Parang Guinness Book World of Records.
Yeah, to recognize her as the oldest living grandmother. And while they go on with the process, she becomes something of a minor celebrity. So it explores, ang dami niyang actually tinatouch. Disclaimer, ang kryptonite ko sa cinema in general ay matandang babae in cinema. So talagang in a personal manner, talagang naapektuhan ako nito. Pero beyond that, it's a film that talks about celebrity culture, how we glorify old age. There are thematic similarities to Dwayne Baltasar's Mami Meng, na in which yung may taong gusto mamatay pero hindi siya mamatay. Also about it's a tribute to the midwife din. Kasi midwife si Lola Igna, and parang she seeks death but she brings life. May interplay na ganun. And it's a far better tribute to midwives than another film about midwives that came about in Cinemalaya recently.
Although meron akong favorite film na, not favorite, but gusto
about
na midwives. Yung ngayon Sa Pusod ng Dagat.
Sa Pusod ng Dagat.
Directed by late Marilu Diaz-Abaya.
Yeah, so what can you guys say about it?
I find it sentimental. Yun. And gagamitin ko na kasi nung naging discussion din kasi namin dun sa post ko, no, na I agree din na it's bittersweet. The film is bittersweet. So, ang maganda kasi dito with the film, Angie Ferro kasi parang for me, overdue. na parang underrated actress.
First lead role niya raw yata.
Yes. This was her first lead
extreme
role.
version ng Dexter Doria appearing in Bakit.
And then, kasi si Angie Ferro, just like, parang yung kasabay niya, Luz Fernandez, ganyan. Nagdadub sila yung sa mga cartoons, ganyan. Just like sila, Eugene Domingo, no? Even sila Miles Canapi. So, nung makapanood ko siya while watching it, magaling siya. Magaling siya. She deserved she's deserving of the Best Actress award.
Yeah.
Kasi makikita mo, yun yung acting na kahit matanda na nai-insert niya pa or effectively comic siya. Ganun. And at the same time, mararamdaman mo sa kanya yung pain, di ba? Yun yung maganda dun sa pelikula.
Parang existential angst. Parang, I'm looking for something to live for. Pero at the end, I found something to live for. Pero what now? Parang may yun pag-usapan natin mamaya yun. Pero sige, DJ ko naman.
Interesting pala, parang meron ba siyang yung real, what's the term for that again? Pero meron siyang allusion to real life na dahil si Angie Ferro is someone who's old na rin, na parang yung iniwan na rin siya ng mga kasabayan niya, ganun. O hindi naman.
Like, parang circa no?
Oo, sa circa ganun din eh.
But you can say it's Philippine cinema in general.
Actually, parang pag inano mo, with circa and Lola Igna, it somewhat symbolizes the Philippine cinema na para bang, I don't know pero nakikita ko lang na parang it's dying. Ganun yung nangyayari.
Matay siya. It's holding on to old
ganun.
Memories. Yeah.
Ganun.
Nakuko-opt siya ng bago, pero they still look to the past instead of forward. Which is, well, we'll talk about circa
Later.
Pero I have a lot of things to say about that.
Though, yun, the whole time I watched Lola Igna, mamayumi nga yung nasa utak ko. Tapos, again, to use your word and Jim, same naman na sentimental version siya ni Mama Yuming. Parang, ewan ko, nakahon siguro yung utak ko na, yun. So parang, I kept on comparing it kasi dahil sentimental siya, ang dami niyang parts na predictable or parang alam mo yung mangyayari.
Yeah,
So parang, found it a bit tedious for me kasi parang,
ito to, tedious
ayan
siya.
yung hagisan niya ng arenola yung mga yan, ganyan. Parang, yung, gets mo na yun yung setup niya, ganun. And all throughout the movie, ganun. Pati yung nangyari kay Meryl Soriano. So parang, walang
another
bago.
role
Walang
na
bago
nanay.
for me. Although I enjoyed it at first, especially yung sa characterization niya ni Angie Ferrer, yung how would you describe her personality dito? Parang,
Cranky.
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 Sobrang enjoyable yun. Pero other than that, yun yan, parang wala kasing bago for me in this movie. Kaya,
Actually, this is malayo siya sa mga other films ni Eduardo Roy Jr. like Fuckboys, which shown din this year. And then, kasi tatlo pa lang napanood ko ng movie ni Eduardo Roy, which is yun nga yung Fuckboys, Pamilya Ordinaryo, and Lola Igna. So,
hindi mo pa napapanood yung last full show?
Hindi pa, even yung exchange, hindi pa. So, kasi with Fuckboys and Pamilya Ordinaryo, for me, I find that parang fast-paced siya. Etong Lola Igna, ang slow niya. So, forgive me, pero during the time na pinapanood ko siya, gabing-gabi na yun, last full show na, pangitikan ko ng katulugan. Ganun. Kasi ang slow.
Hindi ko lang kung nabanggit niya na, pero probably lumabas din to in some reviews. Yung Magnifico, yun yung other movie na inisip ko during this movie. Kasi yung subplot na she wanted her great-great-grandson na gumawa ng coffin for her. So parang inisip ko, so may twist ba to na ala Magnifico na in a way, may twist, definitely.
Actually, parang nga siya, kung i-compare ko siya sa isang film, buwakaw pa. Kasi di ba yung pinagpaplanuhan na niya yung diba yung sa death niya.
But he found something to live for with the dog.
Yun yun.
Yun. Sa parang sobrang sabaw lang na comment. Pero parang sa headcanon ko, parang kasama siya sa Fuckboy Cinematic Universe. Kasi di ba yung isang fuckboy ay apo niya?
Si Royce Cabrera.
So parang umuwi siya kay Lola Igna para mabuhay ng mapayapa. After niya tumakas kay Ricky Davao. So parang Fuckboys 2 to. Ito na yung Fuckboys 2.
Ang inisip ko nga, what if nag-switch role si Yves Flores and Royce Cabrera?
Yun yung tinakasan na kaya siya umuwi kay Lola Igna.
So,
tataguan niya yung police.
Natatago siya sa police.
Parang feeling ko, parang mas effective if Royce Cabrera yung magpe-play na parang vlogger, diba? Si Yves Flores. Anyway, siguro dahil nga influence pa rin na Fuckboys yung napanood nung Malaya Kaya.
So, yun. Interesting na may varied tayo. Parang varied. Ako, I really like Lola.
Okay lang. Pero okay naman.
Yeah, okay lang. So, let's go. I guess, similarly, let's go to Circa.
Okay.
And Adolfo Alexis Circa. Stars Anita Linda. Ilan taon na ba si Anita Linda? 95, ganun.
Parang, basta 90-something na siya.
Grabe.
Mas matanda siya kay Angie Ferrer, di ba?
Oo naman.
Mas bagay yata siya.
in this movie, she's not playing really herself. She's playing, parang an old Mother Lily. Parang siyang, film producer siya who's gotten so old na she's trying to reminisce the past. And parang may parang supernatural element na konti pumapasok.
Parang ako, for me, parang may pagkapit siya pong
she's visited by things of the past. Meanwhile, parang her grandson and her children, they're trying to what they call this? They're trying to organize a birthday party for her.
Saka reunion din ng mga...
/ reunion of all the film workers
niya
and actors who worked with her. I think this will, alam mo, para bagay, no? Kasi 100 years of Philippine cinema. I just found it a little too, pessimistic. Na tipong, yun nga, yung kay DJ na, it basks in nostalgia. Kasi ang dami mong magagandang anecdotes in this film about mga lagarista, yung studio system dati,
even the archiving,
pero
digitize.
There's a reluctance in this film to look forward. Parang ang lumalabas na thesis niya sa akin ay tipong ito ang ating Philippine cinema, it already peaked, there's no coming back, parang walang pag-asa to the future. And sayang kasi may point of view doon from yung the grandson who is a filmmaker. Na tipong hindi siya hopeful pa rin. One of the last like frames of this film is him lamenting over the destruction of, of these old film reels. Na ayaw pagalaw ni Anita Linda dahil ayaw niyang pagalaw, pero at the same time she's preventing them from being restored. Which is, again, detrimental to, number one, film history. Number two, yung preservation ng film. And, you're not allowing these younger filmmakers to learn from the mistakes of those who came before you.
Kasi di ba, doon na naman papasok yung, iba kasi yung style noon, then the style ngayon. Diba? Doon papasok yung ganong perspective or point ang na-appreciate ko naman kasi sa film, actually nagandaan ako sa film. Although, when you watch it, alam mo na the style or yung treatment, Adolf Alex na siya.
Yes, very Alex film.
Very Alex film na
yung
siya.
His stranger films, hindi yung mga Kiko and Lala. Hindi yung mga ganun.
Yung mga pa-art, gano'n, itong pa-art niya.
Tsaka mahal na mahal niya yung bahay na yun, yung puting bahay na yun.
Na parang ginamit din in other film, The Panty Sisters. Parang same kasi sila.
Same
location. No, not GMA Films. Idea First kasi, di ba?
Idea First. Ginamit ni Alex din yun sa yung isang horror film niya 2015. Ito ba yung kay Adi Ay naman? I forgot. Tsaka sa ginamit niya sa Kiko and Lala yan.
Okay, I see. Yung
exterior na yan. Exactly. Naglalakad siya nila sa alas. Pero anyway, I digress. Yun. It's, it is what it is. I mean, it's good I appreciate the sentiment na magbalik tanaw tayo. Pero, tumingin forward din tayo. Paminsan-minsan.
Ako, I like it kasi yun nga, na-discuss kasi yung mga issues like in archiving, preservation,
it's very
and then yung interest ng character ni Enchong D to do a film and then sana makakuha siya ng inspiration. However, it failed
kaya sobrang pessimistic talaga yung
yun nga lang.
Parang wala nang pag-asa, parang ganun. Na sana hindi naman ganun. I mean, there's still there's a chance. And although yun din, hindi rin niya in-address kung bakit hindi tayo nag-advance to another golden age of Philippine cinema. Kasi ang worry ko is yun nga, baka after 100 years sa parang circa of 100
years na di natin maintindihan kung ito ba talaga yung 100 years or 102nd years of Philippine cinema.
Parang pag may PPP 2019 na ganun. Parang baka ang babalik tanawan nila ay yung golden age pa rin natin ng 1960s, 1950s.
Ang dami kasi natin golden age of Philippine cinema.
Parang
pinaka-remarkable is the 70s.
Wala nang babalikan. Parang hanggang dito na lang, parang tayo we're trapped in a closed loop
Another na tawag dito, for me, kudos, I na-appreciate ko on how Enchong D choose projects this year. Kasi, like, ginawa niya yung Elise and then this year, this PPP, to be fair with him, diba, yung Circa, maganda rin yung role niya. And then, ang isa pang artist ang na-appreciate ko in Circa, si Jacqueline Jose as the, parang caregiver, diba, ni Anita Linda, na parang at the end, umaamor ba tayo ni Michael Anica, diba? So, yun yung mga, I think, good points din ng film.
So, let's move on to the next film. Sige, mag-LSS tayo.
Okay.
Yan.
Okay.
LSS by Jade Castro.
Mhm.
It's about these two people, Khalil Ramos and
Gabby
Gabby Garcia. They meet on a bus through and they form a connection through their shared love of music. Pero may sarili-sarili silang buhay at the time.
Yes.
And then the film follows them as they separate, and then they intersect again at later points in the movie. Pero it's touted as a romance, but it's not really, for me, a romance.
Yes.
It's more of it's more of these two people connecting with each other. Parang bonus na yung romance. May pa-bonus yung romance at the end. And ayun, di naman ako super fan ng Ben and Ben, pero I like their music. So, ayun, nagustuhan ko naman yung integration ng songs nila. Pero, ayun, to me, LSS is about, how people are influenced by the art they consume. Not just songs, but movies. May narinig akong nagsabi, it's about ambition. Pero, nag-apply lang yun kay Gabby, not really kay Khalil. Both of these characters, nagsistick sa kanila yung sining. Yung mga kantang naririnig nila. So, yung treatment nila doon sa film is they sing it out. Kahit medyo sintonado. I mean, they're both accomplished singers. They're both good singers. Pero dito, medyo sintonado, medyo yung parang minamutter mo to yourself. Ganun yung pagkanta nila. It's not, if it's a musical, it's not a musical in the, musical sense na they will belt it out perfectly.
Actually, yung mga ganitong type na musical, ito na yung mga modern musical.
Yeah, sa more modern approach
musical,
to it. Although may mga mix din na kumakanta sila medyo decently. Pero yun at the same time, these two characters are dealing with their own problems socio-economically.
Yes.
Lalo na yung kay Gabby Garcia, she's ulila na siya. She's trying to raise her brother who is, gustong pumasok sa music industry. I guess medyo idealistic siya na tipong, okay, sige, you're very good, maging successful kayo. But I understand naman yung approach nila doon. And ang gusto kong iano doon sa Ben and Ben, parang sila yung Manic Pixie Dream Band. Parang they're the band who magically flies in and solves your problems for you. Parang yun. Ayun, and there are a lot of really nice moments in this film. Especially yung Kathang Isip scene, which personally is one of my favorite moments of this
the year
in Philippine cinema.
Kasi
Kasi these are two people, they've suffered a setback, and the only thing that is comforting them is music. And it's music that brings them together. And yung pagkagawa ng art, yung mise en scène mismo yung nagpapalapit sa kanila. Kasi may mga nawawalan tao, ginaganon sila, squeeze sila into tighter and tighter frames na tipong until magdinginan sila na tipong nakakatawa yung picture nilang dalawa na tipong ganun sila.
Hindi kasi parang it's awkward
picture?
Yung parang frame na nakaharap sila tas parang yung kakaiyak lang nila. Pero yung parang itsura niya ay tipong pero yun nga, Jimmy, na ano ko sa'yo na yun nga, medyo na-awkwardan kasi sa relationship. Pero love...
No, I mean, kasi, eto, sorry.
Yung eksena ba yun?
Sige, go.
Kasi, para lang malaman ng mga nakikinig din. Dalawa kasi kami ng best friend kong watching it. So, kinonvince ko siya to watch LSS, which she's reluctant to watch it. And then, ako kasi, for me, okay naman siya. I find it kasi chill, feel good, ganyan. My best friend, she hated it. So parang, okay. So, although may mga points talaga na hindi siya, okay, wala namang perfect na film. So, flawed tong pelikula. May makikita ka talagang mga butas, ganyan. Katulad, specifically with Kathang Isip scene, gusto ko siya.
Yeah.
Although, ang nakikita ko kasi with yung the awkward parang part ng kissing scene was that pwede kasing pinapakita ng filmmaker na, di ba kasi naghalikan, okay, spoiler, naghalikan po sila Yana Bernardes and another actress.
Which is yung ex not really yung ex, yung parang hinahabol ni Khalil.
No, Khalil Ramos. So parang it's normal. And then, when it came to Khalil and Gab, parang awkward siya. So parang pwede ko kasing isipin or another interpretation ko with the scene was that kung kailan nag-hetero, saka siya nag-awkward yung...
Naging awkward?
Awkward na yung dating nung kissing scene, ganon. And to think na parang ilang beses pa lang silang nag-meet. Kasi diba, nag-meet sila sa bus and then nagkita sila in the
cafe.
Cafe, pero tinginan lang. So parang ganun yung parang thinking, paano nangyari na naghalikan agad sila?
Pero, these are encounters over the years kasi parang
Over the years yan.
1 year, 2 years.
Basta years apart eh. They're separated by large enough time. And understandable na the time na magkikita sila, kung maghalikan man sila, ay awkward talaga siya.
Na-feel ko rin eh. Pero at the same time, with yung ganong encounters, ma-heighten yung romantic tension sa kanila eh.
Yeah.
Eh parang in that moment na sobrang durog sila, yung contrast nila na sila lang yung dalawang humahagulgol among a crowd of people watching,
parang celebrating.
happily watching.
Listening. Yun din yung, well, I guess, yun, exactly.
Siguro make or break siya. Parang either super awkward siya, tas, uy, mali yan. Or kikinig
No, favorite ko yung scene Favorite ko yung katang isip scene.
Ano din eh, it's also, well, yung isang ko about the film. I mean, ako personally love the film, pero there's one thing na medyo nababother din ako na tipong hindi masyadong naipakita na actively pinipursue ni Khalil or actively hinahanap ni Khalil si Gabby. Parang kahanapan sila na parang na-gets ko na tipong hinahanap niya yung idea of the girl he met on the bus. Na tipong, this is my sanctuary. Ito yung happy place ko, kumbaga, emotionally. Kasi I really connected with this woman na hindi ko masyadong kilala. Pero yun nga eh. I mean, sana may emphasis pa to that. Kasi there's a lot of time in this movie na they're spending time with other people na hindi nila masyadong nag-give much thought yung other person. Yung si Gabby or
parang he's really ambivalent about her dun kasi talaga.
Yeah, totoo, ambivalent nga
parang yung after nang bumaba ng bus, parang tumingin siya, parang pupuntahan ko ba siya, spend more time with her or not, pero he chose not to, ganyan. And then parang closest thing na sa pag-person niya is nung pumunta siya sa Route 196 dun sa Ben and Ben gig, he looked around for her pero hindi niya nagkasali sila. So after nun parang whatever, ganun.
Well, parang paradoxically, nagustuhan ko rin yung parang distance na sinet ng film between the two leads eh.
Yun nga eh.
Parang may anticipation ka na, kailan ito magkikita ulit.
And at the same time, parang feeling ko parang hindi ko nga dapat nagustuhan, pero nagustuhan na parang a lot of things happen off-screen.
Yeah, marami siyang in-imply.
In-imply lang, parang ikaw na lang mag-fill in the gaps kung ano nangyari. Parang, syempre yung with that tension na ang tagal nilang puro encounters lang and then nagkita sila finally dun sa katang isip scene. Parang gusto mo ng release na bakit hindi tayo nag-uusap na nakita tayo sa cafe?
May ganun ka talaga part.
Pero ni-skip na lang ng movie.
Wordless tapos bilang
Pero kami nga rin ng best friend ko when we're watching it kasi parang kino-consider ko rin na may kasama ko habang nanonood and kinonvince ko to watch LSS. Sabi niya, ang isa pang problema na nakita namin ay yung si Gabby Garcia. We felt na miscast nga siya.
Paano siya miscast? In what way?
Kasi diba parang for me and my best friend's perspective, regal kasi masyado yung beauty ni Gabby Garcia na para bang
masyadong mataas, ganun.
Oo,
para Liza Soberano, ganun.
Parang ganun. And
parang
then
hindi naman.
Especially since morena siya, ganun.
And then
nasa kulay na pa rin ng balat.
we're colorist.
And then yung acting niya kasi parang may part kasi pumiyok na. May part kasi doon sa film na 'di ba yung kinonfront niya yung kapatid niya. So parang we're expecting na parang this is a dramatic moment. Magiging emotional siya. But although I believe intention siya ng filmmaker na instead of maging emotional siya, maging cathartic yung acting niya, parang tumulo lang yung luha niya. Parang walang blanco lang yung face niya. Parang ganun.
Yung ko dun kasi di ba napapakatatag siya?
Yeah.
For her brothers.
Mature nga siya.
So she's trying to repress these emotions and feeling. Parang siya. She has may parang facade she has to keep strong for the people she has to take care of. Kaya nahihirapan siyang i-release yung ganyan feelings. Parang ganun yung nakuha ko dun sa acting niya dun sa scene na yun. Pero yun, I guess one's interpretation may vary.
True.
Ayun, DJ, what do you have any more thoughts about the film before we move on to our last film?
Yung eksena na yan, yung birthday ba nung kapatid niya yun? Or may birthday, nag-graduation pala.
Graduation kapatid niya na hindi pala.
Kapatid niya.
Surprise siya.
Parang mas gusto ko pa nga yung eksena na yun than yung Katang Isip. Kasi parang was more powerful for me. Parang kinilig naman ako dun sa eksena ng Katang Isip. Pero kung yung absolute value nung emotion, parang sa lakas yun. And yun nga, na hindi siya nag-full on melodrama na showing maturity. So, nagandaan ako dun.
In many ways, parang thematic, din siya, parang expansion nung inano ni Jade Castro with Endo. Na tipong socio-economic concerns, they get in the way of, romance. Tsaka in parang kinontextualize niya in this, parang itong era na to na gig economy, na tipong yung nanay ni Khalil, Uber driver, pagigig siya.
At napakagaling ni Tuesday Vargas sa pelikulang.
In fairness kay Tuesday Vargas.
Deserving, best supporting actress.
Yan I mean, it's also parang not centrally addressing it, pero humahapyaw siya dun sa, it's approaching these concepts din.
Gig economy, pagigig lang siya.
Pagigig lang. Gig in our literal sense.
Si Gabi.
Yun. Ben and Ben, the magical pixie dream band.
Saka gustong-gusto ko yung tinugtog na yung pahiwatig at di...
Ay, maganda yun.
Yan, gustong-gusto ko yun. Nakaka-LSS. LSS.
In fairness sa Ben and Ben, gumana kung promotion to for your music. Gumana siya. Kasi Spotify ko yung mga kanta niya after watching the film.
Saka nga pala, another highlight kasi ng film na ito, parehas kami nagustuhan namin ng best friend ko, yung Iana Bernardes supporting role, di ba? Na parang, surprising, mayroong pala siya, ganito yung role niya.
Yeah, there are a lot of things dun sa portrayal ng character ni Iana na, na hindi din masyadong pinakita. Yung scene na iniintay niya yung girlfriend niya na mag-exercise. Ang daming implied dun sa scene na yan.
Yes, totoo.
Na tipong, bakit pa siya hindi dumadating? Parang feel mo, parang may away sila, may something simmering between under the surface.
Next time, nag-break na lang sila.
Next time break na sila eh. So, there was a fracture in that relationship dun pala. So, it's smart enough to not tell you some things na you can figure out by yourself.
Yeah.
Siya nag-spoon feed, even if overall sentimental din naman talaga yung goals ng film.
Yeah.
So, it works.
Ayun.
Unlike Lola Egda, kailangan ko talaga i-compare. Dalawa lang kasi napanood ko so parang ito lang yung skill ko ganyan.
Ayan, so, yeah, I really liked LSS. Jim, I know, okay lang sa'yo.
Okay naman.
So, let's move on to our last film. The highest grossing PBB film.
The Panty Sisters.
The Panty Sisters. So, the titular Panty Sisters played by Paulo Ballesteros, Christian Bables, and Martin Del Rosario. They're a trio of
the Beautiful
sisters.
Series to the Beautiful Series kasi it started from Die Beautiful, Born Beautiful.
Although this one is not
Sisters.
this one is not like
related
it's
to
not in the same continuity as so they're summoned by their father, si Mr. Panty. Si Don
played
Emiliano
by
Panty.
John Arcilla.
Yeah, played by John Arcilla, and he gives an ultimatum: give me an heir, parang sire a child, and I will give you 100 million pesos. If you're the only one that sires a child out of your 3 sisters, I will give you 300 million pesos. So, nag-try silang mag-sire at magkaanak with varying results. Ayun. Yeah. O, ikaw muna, Jim.
Energetic siya, saka entertaining. And ako personally, I like it or mas prefer ko siya kesa sa Die Beautiful and Born Beautiful.
Okay, okay.
Because of the energy ng film, tapos pinagsama mo pa yung tatlong magagaling na actor na we consider in our generation. Yun. For me kasi mas nag-stand out si Christian Bables dito. Sa kanilang tatlo tapos kasi kasama ko na naman ulit yung best friend ko when we watched this. Tuwang-tuwa kami doon sa reference dun sa Ikaw Ay Akin, yung tinginan nila Rosana Roses and Carmi Martin nung yun nga may namatay na character. Tawang-tawa kami ng best friend ko kasi kami lang nakaka-relate dun sa sa part na yun ng film. For me kumbaga from start to end, no dull moments yung film Kaya pumatok din siya sa sa masa, ganun. Although, etong film na to, because, eto nga, LGBT themed siya, expected mo na may mga pasundot na issues like, yan, same-sex marriage, gender equality, di ba? And yung acceptance, tolerance, ganyan. So, na-address naman siya, naitawid naman siya nung pelikula. Yun. So far, yun lang. Sabi ko, I like it. I like the film.
Yun. Ako naman, it's, The Panty Sisters is, kung in terms of parang yung presentation niya, aesthetic niya, it's very similar to a film that you would see like in the MMFF. Na tipong pangmasa, medyo comedy, light comedy. It's trying to send a message.
Mm-hmm.
Pero, I mean, for me, it's an experiment by Junlan and company to try to bring progressive ideas in a mainstream format, in a more accessible format. Yung first experiment niya dyan is like yung ang dalawang Mrs. Reyes. Na kumita ba?
Yes, kumita siya.
Kumita siya. So,
one of the highest grossing film din last year.
So, yung ko dun is bakit from something like ang dalawang Mrs. Reyes is very nicely presented, bakit siya parang this is a step back for me.
Iba siya sa'yo.
Iba yung ko sa kanya eh. Parang nagets ko naman na it's about acceptance. Parang pagmamahal is important. You know, in a film like Panty Sisters could earn 124 million pesos, wala pa rin equal rights for, the LGBTQ community. It's an important thing to talk about. At the same time, ang dami niyang through its jokes kasi sobrang, alam mo yun, sobrang basic ng jokes niya. May piniperpetuate siyang stereotypes na sana, matagal na natin sanang paglipasan. Na tipong, yung mga bading ay, parang thirsty silang lahat sa mga, lalaki.
Yeah, yun din yung issue ng film.
And, although it also explores yung mga, yung mga different sexual, parang gender expressions. Yan. May isa sino ba yun? Si Martin Del Rosario? Demi-girl siya, di ba? So, parang mas feminine but not completely feminine. Yung mga ganun hindi pa rin explain ng mabuti.
Actually, yung part na yun.
Oo, ganun Ang daming issues na sobrang pahapyaw lang yung address niya. Na tipong, baka mas lalong malito yung audiences pag pinanood nila ito. Pero alam mo, for me, kung meron silang napulot na something positive from this experience, at the very least, parang I hope it worked somehow. And I hope Junlana and company do try again next time na mainstream experiment with progressive ideas. Kasi it's a cause worth doing naman. Comedy-wise, hindi ako masyado natawa. Except yung Sailor Moon part, sobrang tawa ako doon. Parang mas natawa pa ako sa Die Beautiful. Although yung Die Beautiful, medyo may seryosong parts yan, di ba?
Naman yun, Die Beautiful is for me, quiet siya Hindi siya masyadong gumagamit ng music. Ito talaga yung...
boisterous to
Swaki. Boisterous talaga,
I guess parang
energy.
Mas Born Beautiful yung mas, in terms of comedy, yung mas connect, yung mas may ko-compare mo, dalawa. Pero yun nga.
Ewan ko kasi...
A for effort, but execution, D.
Siguro dahil when we watch it ng best friend ko, maraming tao sa cinema. So, when you heard people, di ba, laughing, alam mo that the experience is iba.
It's a shared experience.
Para bang engage yung audience. So, talagang masaya. Ganun when we watch
I watched this din with a lot of people, pero yun nga, hindi ako masyadong with them, naki-ride.
So, maybe siguro dahil, ewan ko, nasasakyan ko yun kaya ganun siguro.
Yeah,
iba-iba lang talaga.
Kanya-kanyang flavor. Pero yun nga, it's a mixed plate. I understand why some people would not like it. Kasama-ish na ako doon. Well, hindi ko naman siya masyadong hate, pero hindi ko naman siya masyadong gusto either.
Okay.
Yun lang. And DJ, do you have questions for the films we watched na hindi mo napanood?
Natanong ko naman. Kumitanong ko.
Ayan. So, actually, yun. We'll skip the what we have watched recently kasi nagawa na natin before.
Yeah, kanina.
And, ayun, for DJ and Jim, we'll see you guys very soon in Q Cinema. And coming up next,
Q Cinema.
10. Si Samantha Lee ang nag-direct ng hindi na si Jade Castro. So, we'll see you guys, and I hope you will enjoy this new batch of episodes we have for you. Bye-bye!
Bye-bye!